Hey guys and gals, this is Mike Yao with Savage Kingdoms and Fire in the Head Productions. I did a long version of the book flip through. I just got through doing that and it took like an hour and 45 ridiculous minutes. I shouldn't say ridiculous, hopefully there's some good stuff in there. So that was the long detailed version. But I wanted to do a really quick, just a quicker version. So the last video was a flip through of the book. I went into detail of most of the chapters and the chapter breaks and the art, and even explained some of the lore and the basic rules mechanics for those of you who didn't know about it. But this one's going to be quicker, so I'll just kind of leave out the lore and the game mechanics, and let's just get straight to the book. So here it is. Cool, very cool, right? This is the hardcover Savage Kingdoms Reforged core rulebook with my name on the front. I didn't put my name on the front the first time because I wasn't really known. Not that I am really any, but I just felt, I don't know, I felt kind of weird about having your name on stuff. And but this time people said, dude, just, you put a lot of work in it, so put your name on it. So there it is. All right, so um, Michael Scott Phillips did the graphic design. Very cool, I was very happy. He designed, I think, 3 covers, but this was my favorite. And the other 2 are really cool too. And I think one of them appears on the inside, like somewhat like the basic. We use it as a chapter break. So he was able to incorporate a lot of his work that didn't, like, quote, make the cut. But yeah, he did such a great job. Mike Maurer was the original graphic designer for the logo, so we're still using his work because he's awesome also. So fortunately, I've been surrounded by talented people to make me look halfway decent. And this is how thick it is. So as you can see, um, it's it's quite hefty. It's quite a big boy. 474 pages. So yeah, this to give you a perspective. I mean, this guy is. I'd say I haven't actually measured it, but it's an inch and a half, maybe an inch and a quarter, an inch and a half thick, probably closer to an inch and a half. So here's the original book. I can hold it up. There's one of the original books. That's the Savage East. It's about half that, as you can see. Um, Here's the original core rule book. So it's fairly thick. I think it was 305 pages. But this guy is 474, and it's full color. Full color book. This book should go by traditional retail breakdown. This book should go for $55 to $60. But it's only no, I forgot what I priced it as. $45.95. So I'm taking a bit of a hit, but I would rather since we're not, we're a small company, we're not super well known anyway. So really take a little hit on a few dollars just to kind of get this book out in people's hands because I'm pretty proud of it. A lot of passion and time went into this thing over the last 3 years. So yeah, so let's get right to it. So, and also real quickly, the 2 books I held up, the original Savage Kingdom books, these are basically combined into this large book, which is why we call it Savage Kingdoms Reforged. So it is kind of like a 1.5 edition. It's not quite a full second edition. The reason I say that is most of the core rules are the same. Just a few little things have been cleaned up. So you could still use first edition rules with the new Reforged stuff if you want, but there's really no reason to because this is Reforged and it's a little sleeker and better. But it hasn't really changed a whole lot. Mostly we call it Reforged because it is both of those books are combined. All the lore and game mechanics are in this one big book, and that's why it's so massive and awesome. So there it is, and there's the spine. And then there are also there are a few new things. I wrote a few additional things as well. A little bit new lore, so a few more talents, a few more spells. So there's some new stuff as well. So don't feel like there's nothing new. All right, so here's the back cover as well. I don't think I've showed that. So most of the blurbs on the back are the same. They're breakouts. There's our logos. Very cool art. The basic theme, as you can tell, is being reforged. As a forge, there's still weapons because it's Savage Kingdoms. All right, so flipping into, and I'm just going to do this really quick. It's supposed to be the short version. If you want to see the long version, go look at the other video because it goes in great detail. But you do get to see a lot of the book. You got your typical credits and table of contents stuff. All the Kickstarter backers have been credited, including the original ones, backers from the original project. And then we go straight into forward and introduction. The book is broken down into 7 sections, and each section is then broken down into chapters. The first section is forward and introduction. And it goes into the theme and atmosphere of the world. There's some cool art, as you can see. Right there. Yes. Goes into a prologue, which then goes into all the different ages of the world that existed before the age of man. So it gives you a lot of cool background, some more art. Very cool, very proud of it. The pages are very nice. They're matte. The cover is glossy, the interior is matte. I definitely prefer it that way. So does the graphic designer, and I think most players will agree, especially as a game book. This way, you don't get glare when you're at the gaming table. You won't get glare off the pages nearly as much, if at all, from the lights overhead. So that was a conscious decision. Then we go into the Savage Kingdoms timeline. There's some more cool art. Role-playing basics, the basics of the game, attack rolls, critical success, critical failures, another chapter break, forging your character. This is the second section. Forging your character is just a cool fancy name for character creation. Creating, crafting, forging your character. And it goes into all the 6 basic attributes, derived traits, how they work, renown and stamina and health and that kind of stuff. There's a stamina. There's a sidebar, as it's often called in printing, right there, or breakout, and that's a stamina cost chart. That goes into the races. There's some more cool artwork. I'll just show you a few sample pages here. That represents an Eridornian warrior or knight, it looks like. So then we got some more artwork. Pretty cool. All right. We're still in the racial chapter. Here's a Garnic woman, or a woman of the Emerald Islands. Larenthians. There's a cool picture of a Maluvian female holding a lantern in the snow. Very cool. Oh yeah, speaking of which, I said this in the last video. I should say it here. Some of the art, at least half of it, maybe 60% of it, is some of the art that I just showed you, including this picture right here, which is very cool, is actually stock art, but it is legal, licensed, paid for stock art. Fantasy and historical stock art. So, in other words, you probably won't find it in other books unless you have, say, 500 books that are specifically fantasy genre. You might find 1 or 2 of these in there, but chances are you're not going to see them. But if you do, that's why it happened. But it is legal. They've been purchased and credited as well. Otherwise, our artists, we have David Kerr is back. I'll show you some of his artwork. He had first appeared in the Savage East book supplement, campaign expansion supplement. Michael Scott Phillips, as well as his graphic design, I think contributed a couple pieces. I did some stuff. I did the maps, the original maps, but Michael Scott Phillips and Neil Robertson over in Scotland, of course, spiffed them up and made them look a lot cooler. So that explains that. And here's some more cool art. So we have a good bit more art than the original edition. We couldn't really afford it. It's still mostly text, but it's well laid out. Because I believe, and I think a lot of gamers will agree, it really comes down to content. So, however, at the same time, you have to break up some of the stuff with art, to have some cool, inspiring artwork. So I totally get that as well. There's a David Kerr piece, which is really cool. Still in the racial chapter, here's another piece. Looks like a Mezcan warrior. Excuse me, I just completely belched right on air there. There we go, Takanara warrior. Some more art, very cool. The font is very easy on the eye. The font's the font's very, and you can see the pages are really cool. They kind of wax parchmenty, yellowy, in the middle, and then they kind of fade to gray on the edges. I don't know if it's reading on camera. There are also these cool little tabs that Michael Scott Phillips did. This tabs is character races. So all the sections kind of break down with tabs: character races, talents, weaknesses, skills, orders and sects, spells and magic, that kind of stuff. So it's easy, quick reference. Skipping along through some more artwork, there's another David Kerr piece representing a Yuntillan or Yun human. And we get to the non-human sections. Remember, non-humans are optional in Savage Kingdoms, since it is a sword and sorcery kind of feel. I think Michael Phillips did that piece of Durgar, which is very cool. Okay, so skipping through a little bit. Now we're at talents, section 7. Talents are a major pillar in character building, as well as skills. Talents are now divided into six categories, six sections, six categories. So there's now battle, blood, mystical, social, subterfuge, and other. The original edition just had 4 categories. So this is easier. It's not only for reference, but it's thematically easier to deal with as far as building a character, but also referencing the book and play. There we go. So talents are formatted like that. You get your talent point cost, your requirements like before, but now we've added stamina cost to use. So if a talent costs stamina to use, it's actually noted right there in bold print at the top. And often it will say it in the body text as well. I said in the last video that there's information that is kind of redundant, but as anybody that's written a core rule book knows or has played enough role-playing games, that's actually a good. You want some overlap. You want a little redundancy because it is a reference book. So we try to do that when we could without being ridiculous. And let's see, we're still in talents, battle talents specifically right now. Now we're in blood talents, mystical talents. Okay, chart for them. Let's see, let's get to something else to show on camera. Social talents, going from Crusader to Nomad to Squire to Woodsman. Subterfuge talents, which run from Assassin to Dirty Tactics to Gossip to Gambler to Lampoon, Poisoner, Secret Strike, Shadow Warrior, that kind of stuff. Smuggler, Tomb Raider or Tomb Robber, Trap Setter, and then other talents are right here. Another thing I guess I should note, as you can see, the footers are really cool. There's an anvil and hammer footer and page number at the bottom, which is really cool. And also a footer at the bottom denotes the chapter that you're in this case, Forging Your Character. At the very top is the Savage Kingdoms page denoter, just to remind you that you are looking at a Savage Kingdoms book. And then we go into other talents, anywhere from Fire in the Head. Yes, we have a talent named after the company, because it is a old Celtic sort of reference. Body painting, commanding voice, cat-like reflexes, heirloom, heroic strength, Lotus Master, light sleeper, night-sighted, puzzle master, rallying speech, quick healer, valorous, swift actions. And then it goes into weaknesses. All right, so weaknesses. There are about 35 to 40 weaknesses, which are cool. From both books combined, from addiction to albino to curse to enemy to eunuch to lowborn, indebted, illegitimate, oathbreaker, phobia, rotund, tainted, thin, very young, zealot, etc. And it's laid out pretty similar to the talents. It shows how many bonus points you gain for taking on that weakness. At least at character creation. As you probably know, if you earn a weakness in play, like you become maimed or you become an oathbreaker, you of course don't get bonus points if it happens in play. Some more artwork right there. There's another sidebar. This skill competency chart and difficulty levels. It shows, difficulty level 10 is very easy all the way to DL 50, which is epic. So in the middle, you got your moderate task, or DL 20. Usually your simple is DL 15. Skills go from rank to 0 to 12. Untrained to Grandmaster. Skill descriptions. So we go into skill descriptions. It'll go from acrobatics to alchemy to brawling, all the way to weaponry melee and weaponry ranged. There are 32 skills now. They're all detailed in here, including what happens if a critical success occurs or critical failure, how long it generally takes to perform such an action, the rules for helping each other for teamwork on a task, for trying again. The general rule, remember, in Savage Kingdoms is to change the circumstance. It's like, I'm searching the area, I didn't find anything. Can I roll again? Well, change the circumstance. Describe how are you going to approach it differently. Someone else is going to help me this time. All right, cool. Or I'm going to use this, I'm going to use a lantern this time. I wasn't using light last time. So where are we at? Still in the skills, there's a list of languages in the language skill, common languages in the setting, as well as rare languages and obscure, almost out of use languages that are just kind of lore languages, kind of like Latin or Aramaic or something. Although in this world you have things like Old Zarkonian or Rhodanite, Old Rhodanite, Old Zaran, Old Kitsu, or something like that. Then there's this magical art skill, which breaks down into the 7 disciplines, or 7 different types of magical arts, from air, earth, fire, water to death, life, and shadow magic. Talks about ritual magic. By the way, short and long rituals are gone now. It's just ritual. So a ritual, performing a spell as a ritual, takes an hour, and it gives you +5 to your magical arts roll. So a little easier to deal with. There is a talent, however, called extended ritual that it's a 4-hour ritual, and you gain +10 to the die roll. So very good chance of succeeding in the spell, and probably critically succeeding. Sailing, survival, and then we go into life paths. Character aging chart. Here's a picture of another cool piece of David Kerr art. So it talks about life paths like bard, cultist, hunter, shaman, priest, thief, warlord, etc. Sample characters that you might want to play. And then we start with orders and sects. Orders and sects, of course, are your cool things, elite affiliations and priesthoods and whatnot that you can, cults and sects that you can join, like the Crimson Skull Pirates, or the Blood Disciples, or the Cult of Zur, or the Disciples of Zenthala, the Emerald Harpers, Green Knights of Cormac, the 40 Winds, the Golden Crucible, the Iron Legion, Knights of the Sword and the Rose, Order of the Celestial Dragon, Order of the Flaming Sword, Order of the Scarlet Griffin, Order of the Jade Lotus, etc. The Shadow Hand, Order of the Yellow Tiger, White Magi, the Druidic Order, and then it goes into priests, priesthoods, cults, and religious sects. Priest of Andorok, Priest of Arius. So if you become a member of one of these, it's really cool. As you rise through the rank, you can gain special abilities, powers, and renown, and it's really cool. So Priest of St. Paladir, Priest of Titherius, Priest of Lucia, Priest of Pridanus, Priest of Torres, Priest of Nepalis, Priest of Tarn, Priest of Utar, erroneously referred to as Priest of and the Savage East, which is my fault. Not knowing my own lore, apparently. It's actually Priest of Utar, Utar. Priest of Zakoatek, Priest of Zarexu, Priest of Zara, Shadow Priest of Zintaga. Then we get into experience points and advancement. There's a nice little advancement chart. Another cool piece of artwork to the side. So that's a major page right there. It tells you what you gain as you advance, and advancements as you gain experience points. Advancement system, as you know, in the system is a little more level and not quite as obvious. So the leveling or advancements tend to come a little quicker than, say, D&D or Pathfinder, but they're a little more subtle, so therefore they're a little more, quote, realistic, unquote, or believable. Then we go into downtime. We now have specific downtime things you can Gun 4 more specifically, like prayer, meditation, military warfare, study, research, subterfuge, mercantile, crafting, entertainment, performance, or you can roll randomly. So the random tables are back: social events, military events, and knowledge pursuits. And then we go into, so we're about towards the middle of the book now: gameplay and game mastering, actions and combat. Very cool. With so there's basically a big chart there that talks about the actions, what an action economy. So in Savage Kingdoms, as you probably know, in any given round, which is 5 seconds, 5 or 6 seconds, but we basically say it's 5-second round, that you get a primary action and 2 simple actions. And they are pretty much as they say. A primary action is generally a major thing. It generally requires a skill, well, it pretty much always requires a skill roll. A simple action might require a simple roll, but usually doesn't. That's things like pulling something out of a belt pouch, drawing a weapon, replacing a weapon, moving up to your mobility. Unless it's hazardous terrain, then it becomes a primary action, or it just halves your speed as a simple action. Loading a crossbow, making an attack is primary action. Casting a spell in combat is usually primary if you're not doing it as a ritual. So that's kind of all broken down for you right there. Then we go into conditions, from cowering to cover to despaired to deafened to falling and falling damage, encumbered, finishing blow, grappled, guarded zone, what that means: intimidated, off guard, outnumbered, poisoned, prone, reaction, sleeping, stunned, sickened, tainted, terrified, etc. And then it goes into the combat system. There's another piece of artwork. Goes a little bit, there's a brief example of a combat scene. There are other actions that can happen in combat. And some more art, very cool. Also notice, I don't know if you do notice, but I notice, handling the book pretty quickly. I'm manipulating it in a fairly large book, and it's holding up really well. I pointed out in the longer video that I ordered 3 hardcover test proofs, and a page did come out of the first one, but the last 2 it has not. So a page came out of the first one. Not a big shocker. It's 474 pages, which is pressing the limits of perfect binding, which is generally around 500 should be the maximum. So to have 1 page come out of 3 books is not over surprising, but so just be prepared that that might happen. The cool thing is, it was just 1 page so far, and I've went through all these books several times, not only proofing but doing a couple of videos, and just kind of. And I was doing some creating some pre-gen characters last night for an upcoming Dragon Con appearance. So I was really been using the book, and so for only the 1 page to come out, that's not so bad. And it also it goes back, like it just kind of goes right back in and seems to stay all right. So kind of tucked in there pretty well. So it doesn't seem to be too bad. But this copy right here is like really awesome, and the third one copy too is really good. Common combat actions. Skip through some of this. Show you some more stuff. Here's a brief Gazetteer. This goes into a lot of lore, a lot of detail about the kingdoms and realms and territories of the setting, and it kicks off with this really cool, dramatic little page spread of a map. Those are the western and eastern continents, or perhaps better known as Astagonia and Hassan. Also includes Ragnagard, the Isle continent of Ragnagard, and the Isle continent of Mezca, which is kind of like an Aztec sort of deal. And then there's a southern continent of Amanju, which is right there. And that's on the next page because it couldn't quite really all fit on 1 spread. It would have been really tiny, so that was the decision to do it like that. And then we get little map breakouts like right there, as each section is detailed. So there's another one. So pretty much in all kingdoms or territories, it gives you a breakout map, a more detailed map, which is kind of cool. So not only does it look pretty, but it's very practical for tracking movement of your characters. So there's another one. Skip through a little bit more. Borgatha and Lithalor right there. And again, I'm just kind of manipulating this book back and forth, heavy book, and it's holding up pretty well. Overseas, there's some more maps. Then we get to the Savage East lands, or the Eastern and Southern lands. There's the Aryan Peninsula, and Azyria, Durtharon, Shanashi. All right, Pachahari, Zaramad. Okay. And we're in the magical arts, mysticism and magical arts section. Very cool. Another cool chapter break. Some more cool art at the bottom. And this will go into your cosmology and the seven magics. It explains about the earth world, the other world, and then the other world is broken down into the shadow world, and or also known as the fairy realm or fey world. The nether world, which is sometimes also called the hell world or the underworld, and the overworld, which is sometimes called the light world or the celestial planes. And then other beliefs and traditions. A list of pretty much all the known god, or at least the major to moderate deities in the setting from the west all the way to the east. Very cool. Then we get to a quick reference spell list because again we are in the magic and mysticism section. So this is where the spell descriptions are put. Oops. I think a page just came, another page came loose. Well, it didn't come out, but it looks like it might have come loose a little bit. So again, beware. It looks like another page has sort of loosened a little bit. It looks to be okay. It's hanging in there. So we go from animate golem to beast speak to beast summoning, blight of Zarkon, conjure flame, conjure light, consecration. Go. So the spells are kind of laid out like that. Sort of formatted like that. And Death Speak, Farsight, Enhanced Weapon, Genie Summoning, Heal Wounds, just going through some spells right now. Rain of Ice, Shapeshift, Serpent Staff, Spirit Weapons, Simulacrum, Thunderous Blast. So yeah, there's a pretty good of spells now. I even designed, I think, 3 or 4 new ones to further round out all the 7 magical disciplines. All right, here's another chapter break. Gear and Supplies. Cool Viking-esque long ship there. So this will go into, what you might assume. Armor, weapons, personal gear, slaves, beast gear, beasts, transport, vehicles, food and services, clothing. Goes into a little bit about character encumbrance, construction, composition, and quality of items, from poor to damaged objects all the way up to legendary and mastercrafted, heroic, exceptional quality. Then some stuff about legendary and enchanted items like the Horn of Rodon, the Black Orb of Oridon, the Blood Crown, the Jewels of Soldarian, the Tome of Malagorn the Mad, the Warhound of Gorgothon, etc. Scrolls of Fuchin, Scimitar of Severing. And then item and weapon construction, like things, stats for if something's made out of bronze or copper, or cold iron, what cold iron does to fey creatures. Sildaril, which in the Shi language means star metal, which is really cool. It's almost kind of like a little bit like Mithril from Middle Earth. Stone and wood items and how they might be a little different from standard composition. Some more cool artwork. Looks to be a possible entrance into a Durgar mine. And this is the Savage Bestiary. So the Bestiary chapter is coming up. Some more artwork. Pretty cool. And so it starts with regular animals from horses to panthers to falcons to owls to lions and tigers and bears, oh my. All the way to giant creatures, which is the next kind of subsection of the bestiary. So you get giant lizard, giant raven, giant scorpions, giant spiders, great wolves, giant vipers, saber-toothed tigers, mammoths, thunderbirds, and then supernatural and otherworldly creatures. And it talks a little bit about categories of them, like dragons, draconic beasts. Here we go. Supernatural creatures, There's a cool bit of angel art, angelic art. There's another one of my favorite types of creatures. I think many will agree, a dragon, draconic beasts, worms and such. The genie. So, yeah, so the second section goes into more supernatural creatures, demonic things, and fae, and gorgons, and so from banshee to blade demons to chimeras, desert worm, dread knight, dryads, which are dryads and banshees in the setting, definitely have a nice little twist to their lore and their abilities. Eye of Elix, frost giant, goblin ghoul, hellcat, grave white, griffins, hobgoblins, minotaur, ice wraith, etc. Shadow wraith, oni spider. All the way to Spawn of Nagora and trolls and vampires and yetis. Oh my! And so, and finally, we are at the end of the book. So there it ends with the cool logo and a dedication and index. I kind of sped through the bestiary. Let me go back a little bit. So here, just to show you how it's laid out. So yeah, that's kind of your standard stat block for them. Pretty easy to reference. Has their attributes and then derived traits, and then goes to their special abilities and talents, skills, weaknesses, and possessions. Possessions also includes, treasure they might have. So yeah, pretty happy, man. It's a thick book, but man, it's hardy, and it just feels like you. Hopefully, that will translate to everyone else. It just really feels like you get your money's worth. And again, I'm underselling it a little bit, but that's fine, I think. Just to get more copies out there. So here's an index. And finally, last but certainly not least, is your official character sheets, and that's right here. And any of you know how to contact me personally, I'll be glad to send you a form fillable PDF version of it if you like. Or you can just, be old school and copy it out of the book there. There's the second page of it. So, all right, back of the book again. There's the spine. There's your awesome thickness of it, and of course the very cool cover that hopefully you will see on shelves. Wow, I'm getting some sun reflection there. So yeah, so that's it. Savage Kingdom's core rulebook, nice and hardy, pretty, pretty durable. Like I said, one page came out of the one of the three copies, but I think it's kind of to be expected. I'll let them know at Drive-Thru RPG and Lightning Source just in case, but I don't think it's going to be a super common thing. So, all right. So thanks for watching, guys. That was a quick flip through of the Savage Kingdom's Reforged Core Rulebook by Mike Yao, myself, and Savage Kingdom. I mean, Fire in the Head Productions, my little company, so to speak, small press company. And yeah, pick it up. So it's going to be on sale right as it's August 24th right now, presently as I'm doing this video. It should be on sale officially later today or possibly tomorrow at the latest, August 25th. And the only reason for that is because the original cover file, which is awesome, just a little tiny minor thing. See how the shield is just ever slightly cut off the tip? Really not even a big deal. We weren't even really going to mess with it, but Michael Scott Phillips, the graphic designer, was cool enough to go, hey, let's just go ahead and fix it. It's not a big deal. And he tweaked it ever so slightly, and so now that's being uploaded to the printer. Otherwise, it's totally fine. These books are completely awesome and sellable as is, but we just want to make sure the cover was like exactly perfect instead of 99.5% spot on. So once that's done, it's official and will be for sale, and people can start picking it up. Again, the price is only $45.95. Really good deal. So yeah, pick it up, check it out, tell your friends about it, and I will talk to you guys soon.